Aberfan was a small village nestled in the valleys of South Wales. It was a place where everyone knew each other, and the sense of community was palpable. The village was surrounded by lush green hills and the ever-present coal mines that were the backbone of the local economy. The year is 1966. The world was changing rapidly, but in Aberfan, life remained much the same as it had for decades. The village was a snapshot of a simpler time, where traditions were upheld and the pace of life was slower. The people there were close, their lives intertwined by generations of shared history. Families had lived side by side for years, sharing joys and sorrows, celebrations and hardships. The bonds between neighbors were strong, and the sense of belonging was deep. The men, for the most part, worked in the nearby coal mine, the lifeblood of their community. The mine provided not just employment, but a sense of identity and pride. It was a tough job, demanding and dangerous, but it was also a source of camaraderie and mutual support among the miners. It was a life of hard work, but they were proud of their village and their way of life. The daily routines, though arduous, were a testament to their resilience and determination. They found joy in simple pleasures and took pride in their close-knit community. The children attended Pantglas Junior School, a cheerful building at the foot of a steep mountainside. The school was more than just a place of learning. It was a hub of activity and a source of joy for the young ones. The laughter and chatter of children filled the air, a constant reminder of the village's future. Their laughter filled the air as they played in the shadow of the imposing colliery spoil tip that loomed over their village. The spoil tip was a constant presence, a reminder of the village's reliance on coal mining. Yet the children played without a care, their innocence shielding them from the potential dangers. Life in Aberfan was simple, with its own rhythm and routines, but it was a community built on love, resilience, and the warmth of its people. The village thrived on the strength of its connections, the shared experiences, and the unwavering support of its residents. It was a place where everyone had a role, and every role was valued. Coal was everything to Aberfan. It provided jobs, a sense of identity, and a way of life that had sustained generations. The men worked tirelessly in the mine, extracting the black gold that fueled the nation. However, the mine also cast a long shadow over Aberfan. The byproduct of coal mining was vast quantities of waste material, known as spoil. This spoil was piled high on the mountainside overlooking the village, forming towering tips that dominated the landscape. Over time, these tips grew larger, their instability a constant source of concern for the villagers. Concerns about the safety of the spoil tips had been raised before, but they had been largely ignored. The villagers lived with the ever-present knowledge that these mountains of waste could collapse at any moment. The authorities, however, seemed unconcerned, and life in Aberfan went on. The children went to school, their laughter echoing through the streets, oblivious to the danger that lurked above. The men went to work in the mine, their faces grimy with coal dust, providing for their families. But the mountain was watching, waiting for the right moment to unleash its deadly cargo. October 21st, 1966, dawned like any other day in Aberfan. A light mist hung in the air, but the sun was trying to break through. Children, eager to start their day, made their way to Pantglas Junior School. At 9:15 a.m., disaster struck. With a terrifying roar, the mountain of coal waste collapsed. A torrent of liquefied slurry, a deadly mix of water and coal waste, surged down the mountainside, engulfing everything in its path. The school, directly in the path of the slide, stood no chance. In an instant, classrooms were filled with a suffocating black wave. Rescue and recovery, a community united in grief. The immediate aftermath of the Aberfan disaster was one of chaos and horror. The once peaceful village was transformed into a scene of utter devastation. Buildings were reduced to rubble, and the landscape was unrecognizable. The air was filled with the acrid smell of dust and the heart-wrenching cries of those trapped beneath the debris. The village was buried under tons of debris, and the air was thick with dust and the cries of the injured and dying. The scale of the destruction was overwhelming, with homes, schools, and lives shattered in an instant. The community was in shock, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of the disaster that had befallen them. Rescue workers, many of them miners themselves, rushed to the scene, their faces grim as they began the desperate task of digging through the rubble. These brave individuals worked tirelessly, driven by the hope of finding survivors amidst the chaos. Their hands were blistered and their bodies exhausted, but they pressed on, fueled by a sense of duty and solidarity. The entire community came together in a desperate bid to save as many lives as possible. Neighbors helped neighbors, and strangers became friends as they united in their efforts. The spirit of camaraderie was palpable, as everyone did what they could to assist in the rescue and recovery operations. Men, women, and children worked tirelessly, their hands raw and bleeding, their spirits fueled by a glimmer of hope. They formed human chains to pass debris, shared tools, and offered words of encouragement to one another. The sense of community was strong, and their collective determination was unwavering. But as the hours turned into days, the hope began to fade, replaced by the crushing reality of the scale of the tragedy. The exhaustion was evident on the faces of the rescuers, and the somber atmosphere grew heavier with each passing moment. The community, though resilient, was left to grapple with the profound loss and the long road to healing that lay ahead. The aftermath, scars, physical and emotional. The final death toll was staggering. 116 children and 28 adults had lost their lives in the disaster. The heart of Aberfan had been ripped out, leaving behind a community shattered by grief and loss. The physical scars of the disaster were all too visible. The ruined school, the buried houses, the landscape forever altered by the deadly slide. But the emotional scars ran far deeper. Parents struggled to comprehend the loss of their children, their homes filled with an unbearable silence. The survivors, many of them children, bore the physical and emotional scars of that day, haunted by the memories of the disaster. The tribunal, seeking answers and accountability. In the wake of the disaster, a tribunal was established to investigate the cause of the Aberfan disaster. The hearings were lengthy and emotionally charged, as the bereaved families sought answers and accountability. The tribunal concluded that the disaster was entirely preventable, blaming the National Coal Board for its negligence and failure to address the known dangers of the spoil tips. The findings of the tribunal led to significant changes in legislation regarding mine waste disposal. The disaster also highlighted the need for greater accountability and transparency from those in positions of power. The Aberfan disaster was a watershed moment, forcing a reassessment of safety standards and the relationship between industry and the communities in which they operated. Aberfan's legacy, safety, and remembrance. In the years that followed the disaster, Aberfan slowly began to rebuild. The community, though devastated, showed remarkable resilience and determination. Families and neighbors came together, united by their shared grief and a common goal to restore their village. The reconstruction efforts were not just about rebuilding structures, but also about healing the emotional and psychological wounds left by the tragedy. A new school was built, symbolizing hope and a new beginning for the children of Aberfan. This new institution was designed with safety in mind, ensuring that such a disaster would never happen again. The school became a beacon of resilience, a place where the community could focus on the future while never forgetting the past. A memorial garden was created to honor the victims, providing a serene space for reflection and remembrance. This garden stands as a poignant reminder of the lives lost and the importance of community solidarity. It is a place where families can come to find peace and solace, and where the memories of the victims are kept alive. A fund was established to provide support to the bereaved families. This fund was crucial in helping the community rebuild their lives, offering financial assistance and emotional support. The generosity of people from all over the world showed that Aberfan was not alone in its grief. The fund also helped to ensure that the needs of the survivors were met and that they could move forward with dignity. The village, forever marked by tragedy, was determined to honor the memory of those lost by fighting for a safer future. Community gatherings and memorial services became a regular part of life in Aberfan, reinforcing the bonds between residents and reminding them of their shared commitment to safety and remembrance. The Aberfan disaster had a profound impact on the United Kingdom, shaking the nation to its core. The extensive media coverage brought the tragedy into the homes of millions, sparking a national conversation about safety and responsibility. The disaster highlighted the need for stringent safety measures and greater oversight in industries that posed risks to communities. Leading to significant changes in mining safety regulations, The disaster prompted the government to take immediate action. New laws were enacted to ensure that such a catastrophe would never happen again. These regulations mandated stricter safety protocols and regular inspections, fundamentally changing the way the mining industry operated in the UK, and a greater awareness of the need for corporate responsibility. The disaster underscored the importance of holding corporations accountable for their actions. It led to a broader understanding that businesses must prioritize the safety and well-being of the communities in which they operate. This shift in perspective was a crucial step towards preventing future tragedies. The legacy of Aberfan lives on, not just in the physical memorials, but in the hearts and minds of people across the world. Annual remembrance events are held to honor the victims and to remind us all of the importance of vigilance and care. These events serve as a testament to the enduring spirit of the Aberfan community and their commitment to ensuring that such a tragedy is never repeated. A reminder that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, the human spirit can endure. The story of Aberfan is one of resilience, strength, and hope. It shows us that even in the darkest times, communities can come together to rebuild and to honor the memories of those they have lost. The human spirit can endure, and the fight for justice and accountability must never cease. Survivors and their families continue to share their stories, ensuring that the lessons of Aberfan are never forgotten. Their courage and determination serve as an inspiration to us all, reminding us of the importance of standing up for what is right, and that the fight for justice and accountability must never cease. The legal battles and campaigns for justice that followed the disaster were a crucial part of the healing process for the community. They ensured that those responsible were held accountable and that measures were put in place to prevent future tragedies. The legacy of Aberfan is a powerful reminder of the importance of vigilance, responsibility, and the enduring strength of the human spirit.